cancel notes for this. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
is it really? Oh, Jenny, I'm sorry. I stole your gavel thunder.
Meeting call to order. This is the first kickoff for the Economic Development Committee, our newly formed Economic Development Committee. And I just thank you, everybody, for being here. And I guess
Is Jason coming back?
Say again?
Is Jason coming back?
No, not today. He's got something happening that he's got to handle, but we went through the agenda and he didn't have anything that he had to be for this.
Is there another agenda? Can I have
Oh,
one?
it should be over there.
Oh, I didn't see it. Is it the same draft as what we had?
Why don't you grab the not draft one, just to make sure.
Thank you. Yes, okay. Roll call. What's the process? Do I say
Shelley Reimer here.
Robert Davis here.
Jenny Morrison here?
Will Higgins here.
And then proceeding then, also, should we introduce who's in the audience as well?
Well, I think
That's-
generally, Angie, do we want to add public comment in the future to these agendas?
That's up to you.
That's an
Public
option,
comment
okay.
is
We'll make a
public
note of that.
attendance law, so
Okay.
if you want to have public comment, you would
Okay,
put it on the agenda.
Would you like to
Just
share?
now.
We can
Yeah.
invite public comment today and then they can.
yeah, and I think just for introductions as well, so.
This
Cody
is,
and
I'm
Sarah.
gonna move this podium just because it's in my.
Okay.
Is that okay? Unless people.
Nobody's doing public comment?
Yes, we do, or sort of introduction. Okay, sorry,
It's okay.
I'm new to this.
Sarah Bell.
Hi, and you guys just purchased.
Yeah, so we've lived here.
Why don't you guys go ahead and stand up at the podium, just if you'd like to.
All right.
Not to be too formal, but just so we can.
I grew up here, and we moved back 2 years ago. And we're on Main Street, but we just bought the building in between Martian House and Teeny.
Exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah, and you're just starting now to do all the
Yep.
cleanup and.
Yep, a lot of cleanup.
Do you know what you're putting in there?
Not yet, yeah, we want to see what kind of fit well with the community, what they would like to see and just.
Awesome.
Go from
And
there.
is the boba restaurant yours?
Yeah, they're tenants of ours and they
Oh.
plan on being in the next couple months.
Nice.
So, yep.
Great. That's exciting.
Yeah, so I got to meet them last
Thank
week at bingo, at the
Yeah,
YDA bingo, and I was like, oh, so excited to have, the owners, and so I told them about this committee and thought it'd be wonderful to have them.
You
say
come and-
Between Martian House and who? And Teeny, so the Sapphire Building, used to be the Sapphire Building where.
The one that has the,
Sorting board.
yeah,
Used to have sorting board, yep.
But no
yeah.
longer.
Oh, used to
You
have.
can see it right here.
Well, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, they closed business a few years ago. So.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
exciting.
Yeah,
So that had an upstairs, that was, Pam Belts, was renting it at one time for her massage.
Oh, yeah, there's still a massage.
It's
It's
Julie
Julie
Bell.
Belt now, so she's doing massages.
Oh, Julie.
Yep.
Oh,
Right in the back office, so.
yeah.
And what does this say?
Oh, this is a carpentry
Okay.
sweatshirt.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're glad you're here.
So you have two spots
There's
up
a
front,
total
or
of,
is there three?
there's a total of 5 spaces. There's 2 storefront, 2 offices, and a residential up top.
Oh,
And what's currently occupied?
The boba, residential, and massage.
There's 2 openings right now.
and the boba is what?
It's like a bubble tea cafe place. Yeah, it's not quite open yet. They plan on,
I see.
That's exciting.
it is exciting. Very excited.
Thank you.
Well, good, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thanks, welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you live here in town?
Yes, right on Main Street.
Awesome. Would you like to? Who's here?
Toby Velarde. Just interested in, I saw what the meeting is about. And just thought it'd be interesting to come down and hear your ideas and what's going on. I have Sunflower Farm over on Main Street. I don't know if any of you know
Oh,
that.
yeah. Great. Nice to meet you.
This is-
Okay, so our first order of business is to designate a chair for the current term. And so have been the sort of interim as we were transitioning off of our previous iteration of the meeting, and Sue and Robert were both on that. And so now we're just becoming more official and aligned directly under city council. And so first up, I'm happy to.
What is a term?
We need to determine that. We're kind of like starting from scratch here with everything. And so
What was it previously, 2 years?
we didn't have it. It was
Oh.
just more like, we were just like under, the
Planning.
planning commission was like, okay, well, we need someone to like speak up at the planning commission meeting. So I kind of got, suggest or whatever, just talked into it and then everybody agreed on it. But now, that's been quite a few months and
I'd suggest a 2-year term and I nominate Jenny. Well, you do such a good job.
I was gonna say, I don't have any objection to either of those things unless you want it to be a 1-year term.
Yeah, well, maybe, I guess since we're kind of starting out, how about if a 1-year term starting now and then we can reconvene on that?
Sure.
And I
Do you,
welcome that.
do you want to continue to be the chair or would you?
Sure,
Okay.
yes. Yes. So do we?
Any,
vote?
So
Oh.
is it good to have it come up in October? Or is it good, or should we say the first one like 15 months and have it be January through December? So that it's more, just thinking. Because most everything else, the city council planning are all January through December.
I like this,
Just
Yeah.
keep it consistent?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just so that
okay,
everything's on the same cycle.
So would
Okay.
you be agreeable to 15 instead of 12?
yes,
3 extra
for a
months?
small fee.
Three
No.
extra months. Yeah,
No, I think that, yes, I can manage
Okay.
that.
yeah.
I can manage that.
I second it.
Yeah. So motion was made, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hand, saying aye.
All right.
Any opposed, same sign. Let the record show the motion carried. Of course, we don't have a secretary to like write all that down, so
But
that's,
that's the third,
that's
that's our
probably,
next point.
right, probably should have done that one first.
I
huh?
know. I needed this,
Yeah.
so, okay. Thank you. So next up, then, we do need to designate a secretary to take notes. And the notes, what happens with the notes once they are taken? Is that, then they're just read next
So,
time and do they get
I
posted?
think by public law, the Zoom actually is counted as notes officially, so you don't have to take notes.
Correct.
Great.
But it's advisable if somebody wants to do that, it's helpful for you guys. Otherwise, if you want to refer to something, you have to go back and watch the video.
Okay,
I would say I have a template from Cheatham Valley Chamber of Commerce for
Mhm.
notes that I would be happy to share as long as I'm not nominated as secretary.
okay, okay, all right.
So-
Is anybody interested in note-taking, Robert?
Now I have way too many things on my plate
Mhm.
as it is. I was an hour late for this meeting, or for. the
Your last
previous-
meeting.
My last meeting, yeah, which I didn't even know was then. I thought it was 3 and 4 instead of 2 and 3.
I sent it to her.
I know.
So,
I'm working it.
okay, we've got a volunteer, okay.
Oh,
So I
good.
nominate
Oh, good,
Sue
Sue.
to be our secretary to take notes.
But I really would, can you email it to me?
I can, and I think I have your email, don't I? I must.
So give me your paper.
Volunteers, now we just
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah, so,
No, she just volunteered.
yeah, we would
Oh, okay.
move to
We
nominate Sue, who
nominate
did volunteer to be secretary. Can we get a second?
Second. Thank you.
Then it goes to discussion, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor? Please
All in
signify by
favor.
raising your hand saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Let the record show.
Yeah,
Sue, you are now the new
I know,
secretary.
yeah. He does this for the YDA as well. Congratulations, Sue.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have a party later, a reception later.
Okay, I will
Okay.
email that to you.
Thank you.
And it's essentially in the same format as like the agenda here. It's just that it's got a roll call thing and then some stuff that you can sort of fill in, yeah.
Well, will you please send that to me too?
Okay. So next on the list, then, we wanted to summarize the accomplishments and future objectives of the previous economic development committee. So as we kicked off with, I think there was a lot that Sue and Robert and the rest of our team did accomplish in the last year and a half. And so I think that several things that did get pushed forward to city planning commission that got pushed through, or, onto city council that got approved. And so, if Robert or Sue, if either one of you, since you're on the planning commission, Sue, you want to share some of those?
Well,
Highlights?
we were able to, we're working on the lighting thing right now, but we were able to be instrumental in getting, and I don't remember the name of the grant, but we got a grant for, 10,000 to help with this designation, whether we're going to go with the historical or what we're going to do as far as the growth.
You're talking about the code update? That grant?
Yeah, so
The
Yep.
3-second?
No, that's,
Oh, it's different?
I guess you don't have to go into the detail like
Okay.
that, but anything like, as far as like with, I think just anything, the motivation for us to be on it, also how we can just even take it back to there, just because there's the historical designation
Yeah,
element that was
I can
very
speak to
important.
that when
Yeah.
Sue's done.
Yeah, and so there was, I think it was exciting because we all had kind of differing objectives, and Kara and I, from the YDA being on that, and it was great because there was a lot of, overlapping and, objectives. And so it was helpful to get us all together and to be able to have some things, but if you want to talk about the historic designation, because that was kind of your
there,
initial baby.
everything has just kind of been sitting on hold all summer long. And so it's time to decide what we're gonna do in regards to this.
Mhm.
And if we are gonna go, I'm willing to I should preface it by saying after Christmas, I'll be willing to do some. It's busy season for me
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah,
And so I really don't have a lot of time because I'm working about 50 hours a week and
yeah.
and I just
Okay.
don't have a
Oh,
lot
no,
to
I
spare.
just meant if there was anything you just wanted to share about that. So,
To bring the committee up to speed, 2 years ago, I started a dialogue with the state of Oregon to make the city of Yamhill and the central business district a historic area. About a year and a half ago, with Sue's cooperation, we brought this Robert, let me find his name again here, Robert Hogan, who's on this first document that I had Angie please print for us. It explains, this letter explains after our meeting, we walked through the city and we were gonna make each place its individual historic site. And the Robert Hogan suggested, no, you won't qualify for that because the fascia of these buildings have changed and there's no way you would ever get past that to make each building its own historic area. He says, I suggest that we go for the gusto, make the whole central business district one entity. And that way you don't have to worry about the fascia as to how it looks and whatever, because every building would have its own personality. And he gave me this document in January 13th to give me an idea of what it takes to make the resilience level survey in preparation for determining if we're an eligible historic district. Also, the other document is the benefits and restrictions of same that many people want to know, well, excuse me, if I make my place historic, that means I can't change anything. Well, that's not true. So the benefits and unbenefits, I guess you could say, are in the restriction copies that you all have dated fall of 2021. So that kind of brings you up to where we are at that point. I haven't discussed anything with Robert since then because we were all doing our own thing, trying to push the Economic Development Committee forward. I know that.
Council did just approve that as well.
Yes,
So we
yeah.
have that.
Yep, was working with Main Street. Whether or
Which I'll
not,
get to
and you
that.
might talk about
That's on
that
the new
too
business.
after,
Yep, got
after I
some
get
stuff to
through.
report there.
Main Street was a funding, situation, but if we make the grade for the state to notify, the businesses that we will actually go door to door and say, would you like to be part of this historic area? They will not only get a tax break, but they will get the ability to some funding, about $50,000 per building to restore the frontage of their house or their business the way it used to be when it was first built.
Interesting.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, things to look forward to. And, I think that's about it on my side.
All right, thank you. So the code development recommendations, so we connected with Doug Rux, so Philip connected YDA with him, and then Kara and I spoke with him and Steve Faust about learning more, like, okay, what can we do? What are some opportunities? They filled us in on work with Carlton, and so that got them connected, and ultimately with the code development, and so we were able to get those recommendations and tied in with the city, and so that has proceeded, and if you want, I don't know, share with the.
What's the latest on that? So we had the first Citizen Advisory Committee meeting on October 18th on that one, and a couple of you were on that, right?
Yep.
And that went well. That was the initial meeting where we just kind of overview of the project, the scope of project, the schedule, and then got some feedback on buildable lands inventory and just some ideas from the committee as far as some of the things they'd like to see in the downtown core. And the next meeting will be November 4th, and that is, I'm not sure exactly what our next, they're basically going to take the feedback they got from the committee and update their recommendations, and I think discuss buildable lands inventory more, and the comprehensive plan is on the agenda to take a look at closer. Then that one's a committee meeting only, but then on November, if I'm not wrong, 21st is a public meeting. And that's when the public will be invited to come hear from the consultants on their findings to date for housing code and downtown code, and provide feedback on what they would like to see and just input on the recommendations that have been made to date. And then the consultants will take that back and bring that to the third and final Citizen Advisory Committee meeting. And then whatever the final recommendations are will then go to council, and there will be a public hearing, which will be a second opportunity for public input. But anyway, so that's where we are today. We're at second committee meeting coming up. So.
Really important to note that none of that work's been done since 1999.
On the comp plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the comp plan.
25
zoning-
years old.
Zoning code update, housing needs analysis, economic opportunity analysis, all that stuff. So yeah, really out of date.
And this is using the other grant.
Yeah, the two grants. They joined them so that they'd be kind of working parallel, so they could utilize the resources rather than doing it twice, do it once. So they've got the housing code update happening at the same time as this downtown development code update that you were talking about, I think. And I think the key thing is that understanding just the, people talk about a UGB expansion, but the state's never gonna, it's difficult enough to do that, but the state's never gonna approve that until you're using your code as it exists today and enforcing it as it exists. So bringing that up to speed and then enforcing is, I think, step one.
So who's on this
Committee?
Yeah.
It's all kinds of people. So there's Jajetta from the school board. There is a Van Dyke, Ben Van Dyke, I believe.
His dad and uncle own the hazelnut orchard that's next to the thing that's our only industrial land inventory.
And then there's Fitz Farms. I'm forgetting his first name. Something Fitzgerald. What is it? Oh,
Yeah.
anyway, I can get you the list. I remember all off the top of my head, but it's a really good group from a spectrum of the community. So we had business, we had landowners, we had school representatives, we had the downtown, we had just like resident at large. So there's a variety of people from the cross section to make sure we're hearing from all perspectives on that. And I think Shay sits on that as well, council and, yeah. Oh, and, one planning commissioner as well, Jaden is on that.
Philip and I.
So we've got everybody kind of feeding into that.
So who's on it for business?
We have to look.
Is that? Yeah.
Was it?
Fitzgerald?
Can't hear
Is
you.
it the Fitzgerald?
He's one, oh, and then Fairstein Vineyard, although he wasn't able
Oh,
to
yeah,
come to the
Mike,
first
yeah,
one.
because he was
But
crushing.
he's
fruit.
also coming at it from another angle as well. So there's a few.
So I forgot two important documents that I wanted to read for the record.
Okay.
September 11th, 2024, the city council approved resolution R-827, authorizing the Yamhill City Council to create an economic development subcommittee. That's where we got moved. And then that same date, resolution 828, authorizing the city of Yamhill Economic Development Committee to conduct research on designating the city of Yamhill Central Business District as historic district.
Thank you.
That is all.
Alright. So the other thing that we, with our group, that we were able to, the previous Economic Development Committee, was the formula business regulations. And so with that, the idea of that is being able to have some say in your downtown on the types of businesses and not having anything over, like chain businesses. I have to look up the notes on what that means. But anyway, that, in an effort to try to help keep the
Chevron is out.
yeah.
So does that only apply to the types of businesses and not like anything as far as like the storefronts, like he was talking about?
Yeah,
It doesn't
it's
talk about look of the business, it's just the kind of.
It's the kinds of businesses with
Yeah.
the notion of hoping to keep it then
So there's,
small.
yeah, there are two different areas within
Something like
the
that,
code
something like that.
language. So the actually types of businesses you can regulate, as well as it's, if it's in the historic downtown central business district, you can have design review standards.
That's what that would accomplish.
Right, so like the Chevron that's in Sisters looks like an old Western building, as does the McDonald's. So they actually got the corporate to change their design review.
But it's
In order to
also to
fit.
try to keep things like Dollar General.
Yeah, you make it,
Which we were, there's two
Right.
properties here.
Yeah.
On the corner that were approached, and one of them belongs to my granddaughter, the Laughlin House, which is a historical house.
yeah, well, that's on the
Wanted-
registry, you can't get rid of that.
Well, but they approached them to
Yeah.
tear it down and.
For a
build
Dollar
Dollar
General.
there. So,
Okay,
So that was great because that did get put through. And so ideally then, now we can't have, I think it's businesses that have more than 10.
I thought it was 6,000 square feet.
Oh, and I was thinking also like the number of like chain.
yes,
Oh,
so
yeah,
like.
Chain
McDonald's or,
businesses.
anything
Right.
that's
Yeah.
above 10
Yeah.
as far as the.
So really what we were trying to do last year was like stop the bleed, of like, all right, we need to put in as many like things we can as soon as possible to help. But until we can have the code updates, we need to have some things in place that can help, like, all right, put a pause on random acquiring of the, open businesses and have some say with the city on how we want our precious Main Street to look. So that's where that happened. So I'd say we did a great job, but I'm glad I met with our new alignment directly with the city and to have Shelley on board and then Jason when he's here. And who else? Are we missing somebody
I
else?
think that's it.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that's important too is when, that all this, again, since all this stuff is old from 1999. So as, putting my developer hat on, when we come into a place and look at something, this is sort of the first pass that we look at is we take the list of what's allowed and what you can do and all the steps, and then we determine whether, we can do something that fits within the place. So it makes it easy to work that in reverse and take those specific design standards out and say, we're soliciting sort of like an RFP. We're soliciting basically businesses that, fit in this look or feel or peg, so.
Good to know.
Anything else under the?
Because economic development should be outward reaching instead of passive, waiting for things to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
This is exactly opposite of what, that's how this got.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. But. these are
And
new
it takes
days.
so long. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like this lighting thing that we're working on, that now is getting back to planning. Which it was my understanding that it was the central business district to begin with. And now all of a sudden it's the whole town, and so it's got everybody in an uproar.
Yeah,
And
and that's
so-
not what the Economic Development Committee was suggesting at all.
No.
It was just
The central
mainly
business-
like lights and like
Yeah.
the gas station lights.
Yeah, that's,
So, yeah, so that wasn't our doing to like have that spread out for the record. Okay.
It'll
but
get
it still
fixed.
needs to be completed, and it
Yeah.
needs to be completed soon, because this is marching on.
Yeah. So new business, so the goals for our committee, and then if you just look down on the agenda, we've got a lot of different like pending things. So when Shelley and I were brainstorming about like all the things that we can talk about, we might not get through all of these things today too, but generally speaking, there's lots of exciting opportunities and ideas that we have floated, whether that has generated from the Yamhill Downtown Association, from Planning Commission, from our Economic Development Committee. And so what I'd like to do is, talk about what we want to accomplish now for this group and how to kind of streamline some of these things. And again, some of these topics might align in some of our different affiliated organizations, but we want to have them all in mind. And so if we think about the look and the feel of downtown and new businesses that we want to recruit and beautification. So I think if we could just brainstorm, and please, I welcome your comments there on what our goals are and what we think would be.
So you just
what
want
we
to
wanna
open it
see.
up for general
Yes,
conversation right now?
open it up for general conversation.
Well, I know that the city has, the public per se has dug their feet in for a long time, saying we don't want to look like Carlton. And yet, I was a business owner in Carlton, and for 15 years. I used to have the hardware store in Carlton. That's now,
Yeah.
that's now Park and Main.
Yeah.
And it was dead and dying, the whole town, and it was dead and dying. And so we finally closed the True Value hardware store that had been there since 1947.
Mm.
And we changed it into a antique mall, which was something that was happening back in the 90s. And then we sold the building, and Ken Wright owns it now. And of course, Ken was the emphasis behind Carlton becoming what it is. And you can say everything you want to say about it. At least Carlton's got a livelihood. People want to go there. People drive through Yamhill, and they have driven. I've lived here for almost 50 years, and people drive through Yamhill. They don't stop in Yamhill. There's no reason for them to stop. And the people that live here, they run to T&E because they need a gallon of milk. Then they go through the coffee drive-through, and on Friday night we do the local restaurants. But there's no reason for people to come to Yamhill.
So that was, and this, again, I'm gonna click onto the Wayback Machine here. So when I first got involved with the Yamhill Downtown Association, there were certain things that we had talked about, one of which was the updating of the code and all the different other things that need to happen. So you actually have a framework to overlay on, that's the stretched canvas upon which you paint, essentially, right? All of that sort of stuff. Some of the things that we've been talking about now, and I do a lot of economic development work and destination development work in other areas of Yamhill County, which is why I'm here.
Why
Yeah.
you're a godsend.
So one of the things that I'm going to jump forward to the parks. One of the reasons why the parks plan and the idea of putting the ball fields down there came about is because it drives it drives people to come here and spend time and ergo spend money. And being able to tandem that with, with the ball fields up at the high school. The other thing that we're working on.
Could you explain that maybe for everybody who
Okay,
doesn't
yeah.
know, like a little more about the ball field?
So the Jane Heinrichs Park, which is down tucked neatly behind the water treatment plant, historically had 2 ball fields on it. They've fallen into disrepair and disuse. What we did is we had a group come and look at it to sort of, reconfigure that so that there would be 2 new ball fields put on there, as well as the dog park and the walking trail and some food cart pod spaces and some other amenities that are down there.
Some RV parking.
Some RV parking so that people could tailgate down there. And where I live in Newburgh, we're close to Shalen Park and Rec's facility up at the grade school. And literally all summer, windows open, there's people up there. You can hear them cheering from literally dawn to dusk. And if we can, I reached out to the guy who runs the tournaments up there. They're desperate for more ball field spaces.
And this is softball. specific.
Softball, yeah. So the thing is that he gave me some numbers in terms of visitation and anticipated spend per visitor, per family and things like that. And, we could very easily do that here to create an amenity for the community that would generate, one, destination travel, which if we, with our transient lodging tax, obviously we can collect money based on that. But you're getting people here, getting the restaurants full, getting people buying stuff at T&E, making Yamhill a destination for something other than wine, right? Because again, this is a community that I grew up in and it's always been focused on sports, right? You go to the football game, people turn out for every single sport here. So you double down on that sort of like, it's a residential town, loves sports, small town, wave the flag type of stuff. That works here. The other thing that we've been working on too is the Beverly Cleary Festival. We got a $20,000 donation to basically tune that up. We've hired a consultant to help us with the branding.
And that's with the Downtown Association.
Yeah, Downtown Association. We hired a consultant to help us with the branding and the outreach and the marketing of that. And we're hoping to turn that from sort of a one-day gathering into a weekend retreat with writers' workshops and among other things. But the goal is to get people to come here, recognize the history of the town, coalesce around a very famous and beloved author, and to, again, have stays,
And you should
restaurants.
include the owner of the house.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again,
Tina would be involved if
Yeah.
if anybody would ask.
Yeah.
But, nobody even asks
well,
her.
we just had our first meeting, so we'll get her
This
on
is
board.
just
Yeah.
started. We haven't even.
So part of it is just creating things that are not necessarily wine centric, because there's plenty of people who are already doing that here in Yamhill County.
Yeah.
And there's only so many visitor dollars that you can take off the street that are not being otherwise spent elsewhere. So if you create things that are unique and interesting, that are amenities for the people who live here as well as the visitors, that's where you get economic success. And so those are the sort of the 2 focuses that we've been looking at least from the Yamhill Downtown Association side, is how do we leverage these sort of things to get visitation, people spending money on the weekends, people coming here, that isn't necessarily associated with wine country.
Absolutely.
So-
Well, and everything you're reading, and I'm reading anyway, is that with 1,200 wineries in the state of Oregon since 2019, the dollars per wine
Right.
tasting room is
Visitation
definitely
is
down.
down. The people who are coming to visit, so there's a bifurcation in sort of the wine industry in terms of the visitor model, which is there's an older demographic that was interested in, place, vintage, grapes, the types of clones that you were, harvesting for your Pinot Noir and blending and this, that, and the other thing. The newer generation, which is millennial and Gen Z, they're more interested in the experience of the place. So how does going there make me feel about what I've done with my time?
Well, and they
Right.
also want to come if there's an event.
Yes, and so
It's all about. the
so
event.
that's where the sports, the Beverly Cleary and all these sort of things factor in, is how do we get people to come here and be engaged without necessarily coming specifically to consume a product, right? It's not like the strawberry festival or the pancake feed where it's like, I'm going there. If I don't like strawberries or pancakes, I'm not going, right? This is trying to funnel people in through different mechanisms. So that are not being actually done. And then, then they can spend the weekend after they go to the Beverly Cleary Festival, they can spend the weekend going around to the wineries. That's great. But we don't actually have to like be competing in that space with them. It's getting them in the door on these other things. And it's the same thing with the cycling, and what we're doing with Cycle Yamhill County is we got a grant from Travel Oregon to develop 8 different routes and put signage up on those 8 different routes. And so 4 of them are in Yamhill, 4 of them are in McMinnville. And I think they gave us 70 grand to do the signage and build the kiosks and things like that. So we'll have a kiosk that's going in up at Beulah Park.
Can you describe what's gonna be on the kiosk as well? Because I think that's, I was trying to explain it to these
Yeah,
guys
so,
too, with the,
Cute little kind of shed roofed kiosk with a map of the different routes. There's a QSR code. You can go and download the routes. There's a space for, talking about additional businesses. And then there's some other, sort of general information type things that go along with that. If anybody wants to email me, I can send them the package, the final package that we have on that. It's a big file.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
just
and
to
it's-
bring people out here for that.
Yeah, there's so many people who are coming out here to ride anyway. We just hosted an event, had 50 riders come out. Multiple people actually stayed the night and enjoyed the day the next day, just cruising around McMinnville and Yamhill County doing things. So part of it is exposing people to the area, making them feel comfortable and safe and welcomed. And then they, from that position, when you feel comfortable, welcomed, and safe, you explore and do things. And so you start to sort of imprint on the area and like it and come back. I cannot tell you how many people that I know who have relocated here, especially, after COVID, who said, I came out here and visited wine country. I fell in love with it and decided I want to make it my home.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's not a unique story. And so the thing is that brings vibrancy into the community. It brings an influx of new money. It brings people who are like coming back home to start businesses. That's what keeps, the atrophy of the main street at bay. And so I think we have a really good opportunity to revitalize the town, and we don't have to get on the wine bandwagon to do it. It's here. People can like stay here, go travel, go taste. There's some amazing wineries that are in our zip code. In fact, some really incredible wineries that are in our zip code.
100%.
But they all have tasting rooms. So, come here, enjoy something, and then go visit those. So anyway, that's my soliloquy.
Yeah.
So I'd like to add to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It's taken Carlton 20 years to get where it's at.
Yes, there is that.
So as I know, and as she's already said, Sue sold her business in what year?
97.
97.
98.
That's when Ken Wright wound up in Carlton. Ken Wright's the driving force at that time,
And that's
It's brought-
25 years.
and that brought all the winery people there, got all the businesses together, got all the restaurants together, and then they started their campaign. And their campaign was to bring people into their town to not only frequent their restaurants, but to enjoy the bounties of their city, which is not only wine, but every event that they did throughout the summer. And they do a heck of a lot of events. As a sound company owner for 25 years, I must have did an event at least 3 times a month in Carlton alone. So that tells you how much emphasis they put on events, and events brings people. So that's,
And so
it's the combination of
Right.
all that that made it work.
So one of the things that we learned really quickly with the Yamhill Downtown Association is events are labor intensive.
Oh,
And they're
yeah.
hard to make money
Yep.
to keep the event itself funded. So that was one of the reasons why the Ball Fields project was super attractive, is because you have somebody outside who's running the event. We're providing the platform for them to do it. Whether or not they make money, not my problem, but all the restaurants up and down Main Street, they are gonna make money. And so that's where that came from, is so we're leveraging sort of, it's a small town. So we're leveraging a small pool of people who are involved to get a higher than normal return. The Beverly Cleary Festival, we know that the horizon on that's gonna take us 10 years to grow it to where it needs to be. Whereas the ball fields project, once we work through the parks master plan and raise, get grants and raise the money to do the ball fields, once those are ready to play on, that starts immediately, right? So that has a much, much shorter time horizon for a payback.
And I agree with you about the cost and the staff that it takes to run an event. But one event feeds off of another. If one event doesn't make money, the next one will. And those feeding off each other, they all culminate into lots of pedestrian traffic, lots of visitors, lots of everything. In fact, they were gonna get a hotel.
I think we should proceed because we're running down low on time, so I think we all agree on this part, and we still have to get to our, more things in the new business, and then input, so, thank you, both you guys for all that. So as far as, so I think we're agreeing on that we need to come up with a new, cohesive vision for, and with the codes, that's gonna be helping. We've got interested organizations and, people who do want to come here if we can just put out the right thing. So as far as the other things that we can do with this committee, we can identify, some of these grant opportunities, and I'll just say that that is part of what the Yamhill Downtown Association is involved in, and we are the members for Oregon Main Street. So we're what's called a connected community. So there are different levels of that. And I've been the kind of the point person since these past several months with the Oregon Main Street. So I'm attending kind of weekly sessions with when I can, when it fits my work schedule, with the other communities that are the lead person from the different communities that are connected with Oregon Main Street or members. Tomorrow, I'm leaving with Kara, our YDA president, to go to a conference in Walla Walla that is with Washington's Main Street organization. So it's their Places conference. And so this will be 3 days of learning a lot. And then there's also the Oregon Main Street contingency there. And so we're attending a special Main Street 101 workshop tomorrow morning at 11:30 so it's several hours with a lot of like leadership folks to connect on, what we need to be doing, how to make the most of it. Because as I understand it, the YDA, I've been on it for 2.5 years now, but they started with being affiliated with that and have not had enough bandwidth to really like take it to the next, make the most of that connection.
And the main takeaway from that membership is grant sources?
Yeah, so you can get guidance on, they have different like categories of like things to accomplish. So there's some nice guideposts and recommendations and tons of networking with other communities. Grant opportunities, there's the big one is the $400,000. So it's every other year. So 2025 is the next year. So it's March is the deadline, but it's their revitalization grant. So the state of Oregon has, I think it's 5 million that they put out. And so Oregon Main Street then helps identify. So you have people who are it's open to like building owners who want to renovate, business owners who, it's also open to like people who want to like purchase a property. So with Carlton, that's what was used to renovate the Coast, Carlton Coast building. So that whole renovation is now Blind Pig. The bakery utilized that. There's other, I don't know what else in the McMinnville, quite a few things down there. So
Is it
The
only-
movie theater in Newburgh.
oh, that's great.
Is it
I
only
love
open
that.
to businesses or is it also to public entities?
Well, it's open to businesses and I don't know,
I don't.
I mean, I think it would be great for businesses to do it because the public's got a lot to do,
but
but
you have to have the tie-in with, to be part of this, you have to have, it like part of the grant deal is like, you have to be connected to like what the city's objectives are. So it's kind of like a team effort. So it can't just be a random
It's an
solo owner.
Yeah, it's an interesting program because it's actually part of Oregon Parks. And so it's designed to basically enhance downtowns. And so like what Jenny was saying is they give you, you've got a toolkit. In fact, it would be really cool
Oh, yeah,
to
I can
email
share
the
that.
link around
Yes.
of the toolkit.
Yes.
So it sort of gives you guideposts on what you can do to start, fixing up your downtown. And there's various levels. Some we will never get to because our downtown is, 6 blocks long. But, versus say like Bend or Hood River, right? Where you have a much greater physical presence. But it's really good in terms of being able to identify those mileposts, identifying the things that are hard or you shouldn't pursue, and the things that are also, networked so that you can pursue and do better on. I don't believe it's open to public entities.
I mean,
That's more of a COG question. It's like, where can you get money for fixing this up and do our community center?
But it might be better that it's individual businesses that are updating theirs, because that's all part of our bigger plan.
Right,
And what role we can play supporting wise is.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's really important, especially for small business owners, is, a lot of the people who are, like Mary at T&E, she's got a full-time job, right? And she's got kids too, doesn't she?
Mary's actually on the committee. She's our business.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, when you get people who are, having been a small business owner for my entire career and had kids, right? I mean, there's only so much time in the day, and somebody says, hey, it'd be really great if you did a storefront improvement grant. Here's like 30 pages of like really small print that you need to fill out, right?
That was gonna be my next.
It's just like, okay, that's going to the bottom of the pile, because I got my own fires that I need to put out, and kids that I gotta get to school and dance and this, and that, and other thing. So having organizations like ours, be it the Economic Development Committee or the Yamhill Downtown Association, to help sort of walk people through that. And the Main Street folks are the ones who are helping us walk
Help
people
them.
through that, yeah. And so it's really, really a
So
neat
is that
organization.
a role of this committee, or should that remain in the YDA?
YDA
Yeah.
as the, I mean, it can be, like, it could be both. And so I will be learning all of
Yeah.
this tomorrow from
Maybe you
11:30
can,
to
yeah,
3,
just
and I'll,
update us
What-
next
I mean, I
I will
think-
absolutely report back, but
So-
it's a combined.
Yeah, so one of the things, at least in terms of the economic development thing and our ability to do outreach, where the Economic Development Committee, I think, fits in really well, is it's the city's voice to say, this is the direction that we want to go, right? So the Downtown Association, we're a 501c3, and we're working on economic development stuff and outreach to businesses, right? So that's the private sector. The Economic Development Committee is the public at large, like the city's voice to say, we would like to pursue this. And a lot of times when you're looking at grants, and especially when you're looking at money from the state, they want to see that somebody somewhere in the notes has memorialized that this is the direction that the public wants to go.
and it aligns with the.
And it aligns with
Yeah.
all the plans in terms of our economic opportunity analysis, our housing needs analysis, our general master plan, the codes and things like that. So that when you talk to somebody like Beth Witowski at Regional Solutions and you say, we want to do this. And the question is, well, who's we, right? Did Philip have a crazy idea, or is it the committee, or is it the city of Yamhill? Is it is the city administration and city council behind this as an idea? And when those answers are yes, because everybody's been informed and talked about it, then all of a sudden, opportunities, cha-ching, happen, and
Right.
we get money to do things.
So, this is partly personal,
Yeah.
and partly because of this. It keeps getting dredged up,
Mhm.
Beverly Clary's house.
Yeah.
When I sent it off to my daughter,
Do you guys all know that she owned the Beverly
Beverly
Hills
Clary house is in our family.
Yeah.
It's in that and the Lee Laughlin house both are
Well,
in our family.
it's technically the Bunn residence,
Yes,
but.
yes. Nobody knows that.
Right?
When I say
I know
that,
it.
when I say that, nobody knows.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm wondering,
And she was also on our economic.
I really, is there any way of involving any funding or anything that will help Tina with that house?
There should be, yes. And I think that's one of the things as we move forward and start having conversations about like the branding and the work around the Beverly Cleary Festival is how we make it so that it's not an intrusive thing where people are not like taking a pilgrimage and knocking on your door like every
Oh, we
weekend.
used to have busloads of
Oh,
people in
yeah,
our
right.
yard. I mean, it's not a
But
big
can,
deal.
right, but how do we have a bus load like on
Yeah.
a specific weekend as opposed to all the time, right? And there's,
Oh,
there's,
all the
there's
time.
grants that are available, I know, when you actually allow your house to be open for a historic event on a weekend. And so there's all sorts of angles that I think we can
Well,
pursue.
and like it or lump it, whether, I mean, Tina was a teacher for 35 years.
Right.
And, so, and Beverly, we had a very good relationship with her before she passed away.
Yeah.
And so that combination, should be involved in what's happening with this. If you're going to include the Beverly Cleary, it should include the house.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, oh,
And
yeah.
Tina is really willing, but right now, because she's like you and getting your kids to dance. Well, she's got saving 7 grades in case nobody sees
Yes.
her on Facebook, and she works full-time
Right.
and old houses are a very, very.
Especially houses of that vintage and that level of detail and
Oh, yeah.
intimacy, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things is that we'll have to do is once we get our first couple iterations of stuff back from the consultant that we have who is working on that, then what we'll do is we'll get Tina and we'll sit down and say, okay, how do you want to fit into this?
Okay.
And also, Kristen was on the YDA. I don't know if
Yeah.
she is anymore, but so she's been involved, like these
'Cause
meetings
she's got
beforehand.
5 kids
And
herself.
she's like, well,
And-
you gotta
and-
tie
and
in
it's
my
in-
mom, so
in-
she's,
in things.
yeah, so and there's also, I just pulled up this and I'll forward this out to everybody, but this Oregon Cultural Trust conversation with funders. And so this is something that, so with the Main Street on this email chain that I get, this is a chance to meet with grant makers and funders who support art and cultural projects and programming. And so this is a chance to you can talk face to face with these people.
So one of the things that we did this with when we were talking about the parks idea, right? So when we were looking at it as a standalone to fix the ball fields, and this translates into the Beverly Cleary thing, so
Yeah.
bear with me, is the funding mechanisms that exist out there for grants. They don't want to just fund a couple of ball fields. They want to look at it in terms of the context of your parks master plan, right? So how does the parks master plan for the entire city inform you wanting to do this thing, right? So on the Beverly Cleary stuff, it's the same thing. What we're doing is with the consultant and the donation that we got is we're building the Beverly Cleary master plan so that we can start integrating the components into it so that when we say, okay, well, we need to do some improvements on the house itself because the house is central to, this part of the plan, right? This day, people are going to be visiting the house. The next day, they're going to be at Beulah for the writer's retreat or, however it works. Is that then when you sit down with people like the Ford Family Foundation or some of the other, literary foundations, that you can say, this is the need that we have. So we need 10 grand to do whatever, right? New paint or, who knows, new gutters. And you say, this is the need, this is how the need is being met within the context of the plan, and this is the result of it being met, right? So we do this and then this will happen. And so a lot of times when those people are writing those big checks for things like that, they want to see that the plan that you have,
So
right?
you're
The
not
map.
just doing one little divot.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like if I'm
Yeah,
giving you
long-term
$20,000 and it just happens and it goes poof because money goes poof, what am I getting for that investment? How am I investing with you and we're building something? And so that's where those master plan efforts come in. And those are the literal keys to the purse strings.
And while you're up in Walla Walla, if you come across anything,
Oh, I'm gonna,
you know.
that's why I'm going to get all this stuff. Yeah, lots of people from other communities.
So
Yeah,
we
so-
still have 5 EFG to go.
Okay, so we'll just continue back on track here. Thank you for that. So and I'm gonna just forward out as I was talking about this Oregon Cultural Trust email. So there's besides this Oregon Main Street led, the big revitalization grant, there's just tons of other things that can fit with different purposes and individual businesses that can, go for it without necessarily having to have the full scope of all these other entities tied in. But, so back to, I think, with the goals of the committee. I think we should perhaps then, as you can see, we have so many topics, things to accomplish for next steps. I think we should come up with, I propose an agenda for next steps, what to talk about. And then I'd like to talk about, adding another, one more committee member as well.
Adding goals to the next meeting agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, so everybody like, between now and the next meeting, think about goals.
Yes, well, or
Send
even
them
like,
to you.
or right now, if there's anything in particular that you, whatever's easiest, we could just
Well, I mean,
perhaps.
for me, I think that the items under 5B are goals. Like, I want to know, what does the community want for the types of businesses, and what does the beautification look like, and what's the look and feel, and I keep saying, I keep hearing people say, we don't want to be Carlton, but I don't hear what they want to be. That's the piece to me that's
Yeah.
missing. So I want to hear, what does the community want to be? So we have a
Get that
direction.
Input from the
Right,
community as well.
were you here when Doug Rux did his
Yeah, I
first
did.
thing? Yeah, so that was and I'm somewhere, I've got his notes, but there was a lot of actual, there was what we don't want to be, but there was some like things that were needed
Yeah, there-
that
And
came
is
out
that
of there.
posted
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
you
city
think that
website?
meeting really needs to be refined into what's the priority, that needs to be
Yeah.
prioritized and then consolidated into, here's what we want to be, that somehow
What I-
needs to
what I
be
think-
communicated.
I
I was
thought
gonna
there
say-
were supposed to be some notes.
Yeah, what I
Given
think,
out there.
what I think would be
Yeah,
good is
posted on the city website, I'm pretty sure.
if we can steal
The
those
notes
notes
from that?
from somewhere
The consolidated Doug Rooks ones, it's on the
Yeah.
website.
and then circulate it to the committee members, and then we can sort of like pull some of those out for discussion maybe next time in terms of like, refining and picking some things out of there. And again, also what Shelley was saying is, these things that are on the new business list too. I mean, there's a lot of, those categories can be expanded and better refined in terms of, what it actually is. And,
Yeah, this is a lot for one meeting, but we knew that, so.
Yeah,
we-
so
it's no
action
problem.
items then, so I think if we come back to the things that we didn't get to here, but also get the. Doug
Does
Rux's
everybody
notes
know if
out?
you go onto the City of Yamhill website, the Doug Rux notes are actually right
No,
there?
I
bottom.
didn't know that, so. I
So,
haven't-
if it's not on the main page, it's on one of the, if you can't find it, email me, because it's a very easy link to find, but I can send it to you if you can't find it. But just so everyone knows where it is, you can find it right there on the website.
Yeah, and then if you have other things that you want to have added to the agenda
Yeah.
that comes
So-
up.
So this
tell me.
meeting on November 4th is going to be.
That's a committee meeting, but the November 21st is the public meeting. And that is gonna be advertised at Trunk or Treat.
Yes, we need to do that.
So they're gonna send us something to advertise and distribute.
Great.
3J is.
3Js.
Yes.
Excellent.
Soon.
Okay, okay.
Perfect. Just as an aside on the travel Oregon stuff, that's something that. So I, among other things, represent the YDA on the Yamhill County Tourism Partnership Committee, which you may or may not know exists.
Okay, can we talk about that next? Because I want to hear more about Travel Oregon and how that can help
Yeah.
us in tourism, all that.
Yeah, so,
I mean,
okay,
you
so
talk about
there-
it now, but let's expand on it next meeting.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I can talk about that, easy, good
Because I don't have a clear picture of how we can partner with them yet.
idea.
Very good.
But new business member would be great to talk about today if we have
Yes.
ideas.
Yes, so we have a cross-section of people here already on the committee, and we are looking for somebody who owns a business or building
Downtown.
downtown. If anybody.
Anybody knows anybody?
Anybody, we would love to have that type of person on this committee, just to be involved and not plan events. Robert's got the sound system, so you're gonna be doing 3 events a month. But if there's,
Yeah, so,
Interest.
so on the Yamhill Downtown Association, for example, so Anita Borges, she is on it, was one of the founding members because she owns the North Yamhill Bank Building. And so that's sort of the reason that she was on it, is because she is literally a stakeholder in the community because she owns real estate here. So it's those sort of things, right? Because those, again, it's the canvas, right? And what we're doing is the paint and coming up with the paint by numbers. And so if you're part of the canvas ownership, That is something that obvious, and have free time.
Yeah.
Third Thursday of the month? No, we're first Tuesday of the month. That's sorry.
And did we have to change this one? Just, but otherwise. Cause it was
First Tuesday of
first
the month.
Tuesday, but this isn't the first Tuesday, cause we had to change it.
This
because
month
of
is
something.
different because we were off, but starting next month is the first Tuesday,
Okay, so the first Tuesday, so I'm just gonna look at what that looks like.
November fifth. Voting day.
So maybe.
Not a full
we
month
should do
until the
that.
next meeting then. Did you hear that, Barbara? 3 to 4.
Okay, 3 to 4. I have a 4 o'clock appointment that I'm gonna have to do, so we have, if we can keep it. Tight.
Is your 4 o'clock in town?
In Carlton. So,
You can leave.
and I'll see if I can,
You just need to
Phil
leave
can
5,
take over for
you need
you.
to leave 5 minutes early.
yeah, that's
There
no
you go.
problem. She'll be 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
That's actually,
I know.
and we actually have, oh, never mind. Never mind. It ends at 2. So we're good.
Okay, so do we have any interest in joining this committee?
You can let us know after, not to.
Yeah.
put you
Yeah,
on the
go-
spot.
Oh, okay,
We'll ask one time.
Yeah.
okay,
But I mean, it's definitely something we can talk about for sure.
okay, yeah, and as far as the other time commitment, really, it's just this meeting and then like this time frame, and then other things as they,
Maybe answering emails and
yeah,
stuff.
okay. All right, well, I think, should we adjourn? It's after 4.
You have the gavel, you're in charge.
I'm
Lady
gonna,
Sharon.
I adjourn, we adjourn, what am I supposed to say? What's official with?
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting
Yeah,
adjourned.
meeting adjourned.
Okay, I'm
So
going.
easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go turn this in.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, turn the hot mic on, please.